Well, good morning, ladies, gentlemen. Welcome to you all to this new venue for the AGM, for CIMA's AGM, to the ETC venue here in Bishopsgate. Welcome to you all. To begin the day, would you please welcome the President of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, Miriam Madden.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a pleasure to see so many friends and members here this morning. Let me welcome you to CIMA's 97th Annual General Meeting. And of course, this is our first one here at Bishopsgate. You will be in good company. Apparently, William Shakespeare was a parishioner back here in the 16th century. And more recently, actually, they used to put display the heads of criminals on spikes at Bishopsgate on your way through the Wall of London. So a salubrious environment for this AGM. The notice of the AGM sets out the agenda for the meeting. The notice was circulated to all members in good standing, pursuant to Regulation 3.18. May I take the notice convening this meeting as read? Aye. Then I would like to introduce the top table to you. Working from my far left is Keith Luck, immediate past president, David Stanford, our vice president, Andrew Miskin, our deputy president. To my right is Charles Tilley, our chief executive, and on his right is Gail Sterling, Executive Director of Governance and Professional Standards for CIMA, Robert Bulling from Morris Turner Gardner, our lawyers, and Tim McAllister from PricewaterhouseCoopers, our auditors. As in previous years, a representative from the Electoral Reform Services, Alex Loney, is present. And Alex will oversee the voting at this meeting, specifically in the event of a poll.
We will start today with the President's address, which will then be followed by the main business of the meeting. There will be an opportunity to ask questions on the individual business resolutions as they are put to this meeting, and then further questions on general matters of the Institute business will be addressed under Agenda Item 4. So, as immediate past president, at least for an hour or so more, it gives me great pleasure to call on the current president to make her way to the podium to give her address to us. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the 82nd President of CIMA, Miriam Madden.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to CIMA's 2016 Annual General Meeting. It has been an exceptional year. You will have seen through our annual report, we talk about staying ahead of the curve. And I think we may well look back on this year in years to come and see that this was one of those pivotal years. If I were to sum the year up, I would say it was about two things. Firstly, member focus, and secondly, implementation. This has been a year of member focus, a year full of conversations, and I'm proud of the level of discussion we have had with our members and employers on evolving the joint venture. I have worked hard to talk to, and more importantly, listen to all our members. And also, we've had conversations with our students and tuition providers to build confidence in a period of change. My honorary officers, our council members, our regional chairmen, all played a key role, as did our staff. Which leads me to an announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, I am absolutely delighted to announce that our members have overwhelmingly endorsed our strategy to form a new association with the American Institute of CPAs. And of course, as accountants, we would have to see the numbers. 89% of the votes were in favour of creating the new association. And in fact, more than 10,000 of our members voted. This is the highest CIMA member vote ever recorded. And certainly for me, some of my ambition around this was that we would have a mandate from our members to take our strategy forward on their behalf. And I think that very conclusively says that we do have that mandate from our members. Thank you. As you know, we didn't have to go to a vote, but as a CGMA myself, it was crucial that we engaged our members on this important decision and heard your voices. Stronger together, this next step accelerates our strategy of leading and owning the management accounting space. Stronger together, we will drive the employability and reputation of our members. And stronger together, we will be a formidable force in the professional space, but also in the business world. We will keep our Royal Charter, we will keep our Council, and we will keep our qualifications. And as Charles and I have often said, you keep everything you already have, and you are gaining a whole lot more. So, moving on then, I had summed the year up around two themes. Firstly, member focus, which is very much around our strategy to form the new association. And secondly, it was a year of implementation. To create and preserve value over time, organizations must make strategic choices and investments. 2015 saw us make significant strides to own the management accounting space. It was the year when several of these long-term investments were implemented. And I want to tell you about 4 major achievements in that space in particular. Firstly, how we deliver exams. We moved to on-demand exams, a move we made before the competition, and they are now following suit. A move that is now being rewarded as pass rates continue to improve and confidence grows in the system. Secondly, we delivered our syllabus and the competency framework. And while this means our exams are more demanding, it also means our members are more business ready. And thirdly, we have taken our global management accountancy principles even further. And for me, actually, I believe the GMAPs are one of our greatest achievements ever. This year, we are pioneering a new tool which allows organizations to benchmark their performance against a world-class management accounting function. And we have also created the first ever global standard for management accountancy with the British Standards Institute. And in recognition of our roots, it will be known as the PAS 1919, which was the year of our foundation. And fourthly, we added the Hackett Group to our portfolio of partnerships. We are launching a global business services program with them, which will build our presence in these really important markets. There is no doubt, however, that 2015 was a very tough and challenging year. It was the first year of implementing the new assessment platform, and frankly, it was harder than expected. Exam levels were delayed and reduced, and as a consequence, there were reduced levels of revenue. Over recent years, we built strong reserves, so we have the capability to manage these investments. We held back expenditure while delivering on all the major programs and initiatives of our business plan. We had the conviction to follow through on those strategic investments while responding rapidly to short-term issues. Member satisfaction is an area for improvement. It fell by 7 percentage points in 2015. Initiatives are underway to address ease of doing business with the Institute, and greater recognition for our qualifications in the marketplace. And we are now surveying our members and students twice a year. Our members' voices will shape their customer experience. We will listen and we will adapt. So over the course of my year as president, I have been struck by the opportunity and the appetite for management accountancy around the world. And yes, while there's competition in these markets, I do think that our biggest challenge is how do we scale up to grasp those opportunities. So this year, for example, we celebrated 60 years of CIMA in South Africa. And as I think about South Africa, then I would use one word, which is attitude. It's probably the only place where I have been gate crashed as president. I was chairing discussions with academics and business leaders on employability. And the evening before, I was speaking to a group of students. And their question to me was, how can you have a discussion about our futures without having us at the table? So they actually insisted on attending and, again, brought that same attitude to the meeting. They shared their career plans and their conviction to make a difference. And they knew they needed management accounting skills to make that difference. This year, we have been in Sri Lanka for 50 years. And the message I heard there is that business, both public and private sector, is upping its game to take advantage of the peace dividend. And I met with Sri Lanka's finance minister, who is CIMA qualified, and he sees management accountancy as critical to upping that game. If I have one impression of Asia, it is innovation. There are huge business opportunities across the region, and innovation is necessary for businesses to grow rapidly to exploit those opportunities. China, even with the new normal levels of economic growth, still represents a phenomenal opportunity. I met with the president of the Chinese Institute of CPAs, Madam Feng, and she said, at this moment, management accounting is more important than financial accounting. And what she was describing was the need for performance management and decision-making to drive the efficiency of these enormous enterprises and conglomerates. Closer to home, in Ireland, I had the opportunity to chair a think tank on finance leadership. And one of the messages I heard loudly and clearly was that given the past 2 decades of the economic roller coaster that has been played out in Ireland, there has never been a greater need for evidence-based decision-making and stewardship. And of course, I consider the UK to be our heartland. Over the course of the last year in particular, I have travelled the length and breadth of the UK, meeting members, academics, and business leaders. This is where our global thought leadership is developed and road tested. And again, I'm very proud that our rethink of the business model began at my president's conference in Edinburgh University back in October. And ultimately, it is our thought leadership that builds the profile of management accounting and creates the demand for our skills as professionals. So I really believe that the opportunities around the world for management accountancy are absolutely immense. And so, of course, part of the member focus over the year has been a celebration of our long-standing members. It's been a wonderful opportunity to celebrate 10, 20, 30, and 40-year anniversaries with members. And in fact, I had a complaint registered with me in Australia that we didn't have commemorative pins for 50 years. And I was honoured to meet 3 gentlemen there in Brisbane, actually, who had been members of CIMA for 50 years. Another highlight was the Global Business Challenge finals, which were held in Warsaw. We had almost 15,000 students from around the world taking part in the various heats. I was delighted to see the team from Singapore win, and we had a team from India take second place. And another major milestone over the course of the year was welcoming our 100,000 member to CIMA. And she's a young woman called Samalka Athralia, and I had the opportunity to meet her in Sri Lanka. So again, a major milestone for CIMA. And as a woman, it may not come as a surprise to you that I am passionate about gender equality in business. Over the course of the year, I have met with senior businesswomen from around the world, mostly our own members, from the tiger mums of Singapore, who are hugely ambitious for the achievements of their kids, to a very cool group of our members in Australia called Leaders in Heels. And ladies and gentlemen, in this age of technological and scientific advances, it seems that one of the most difficult conversations around the world remains, how do you tell your boss, who is probably a man, that you are pregnant? And because this conversation is loaded with implications for planning, whether that's at an individual level for career planning or whether it's at an organizational level for staffing. And it also has implications for the really serious economic issue of losing so much talent from the workforce. Diversity thrives where there is strong leadership, and CIMA is a leader in this space. One of the things I looked at over the course of the year was the gender pay gap, which is coming more to the fore here in the UK. And the national average in the UK is 19%. I was delighted when I looked at it from a CIMA point of view. It is less than 1%. So a phenomenal result for us. I was also really interested to take a look at our pipeline. So when I look at the composition of our students, it's a 50-50 mix between men and women. As it moves into membership, we drop some of the proportion of women, so it's more like 40-60. And then many of you in the room today are fellows, so you are the more senior members of our institute. But would you believe that at this time, only 1 in 10 of our fellows is a woman? This is an area I would like to see us shift the needle dramatically. So we're making great progress, but still a way to go. So let me start wrapping up by sharing my ambitions for CIMA and management accounting. For me, CIMA is more than the sum of its products and services. CIMA is more than a competency framework. It's actually about developing business leaders of the future. CIMA is more than a thought leader. It is actually about being the custodian and champion, developing the science of management accountancy. And CIMA is more than an institute. It is actually about powering up people and businesses for success. We walk the talk in terms of putting world-class management accounting into practice. We've had a tremendous year of member focus and implementation. We are an asset-rich organization. And I would include in those assets the excellent staff that we have led by Charles, without whose expertise and dedication none of this would be possible. And I would like to invite you as the audience to share with me your appreciation of our staff. And in terms of our assets, we also have loyal members and talented students who are the lifeblood of our organization. I've taken great pride to see our council flex its strategic muscle and make bold decisions for the future of management accountancy. I've seen us join the dots across our global I've seen us join the dots across our global governance teams, from myself as president, through our honorary officers, through our council, our regional boards, our areas and branches. I will always be ambitious for CIMA. I want us to be a modern and dynamic organisation. I want us to lead and own the management accounting space. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to have served as your president, and I'm proud to be a management accountant. Thank you. We now move to the resolutions of the meeting. I call upon Rupa Deshmukh, Corporate Affairs Manager for CIMA, to confirm that a quorum is present.
I confirm that a quorum is present.
Thank you, Rupa. May I draw your attention to the copy of the notice of the annual general meeting? I will not be reading out the full text of the resolutions, but will on each occasion refer you to the notice. Prior to the vote, I will take questions on each resolution. All votes will be on a show of hands by raising your red attendance card. If the vote is inconclusive, it may be necessary to call a poll, and in these circumstances, I will ask the Electoral Reform Service representative to oversee it. If you have a question, could I ask you to wait until the microphone makes its way to you and to introduce yourself at the outset. In line with normal practice, I may refer questions to the Chief Executive, the senior management team, CIMA's solicitors or CIMA's auditors on certain items where appropriate. Finally, every member here is entitled to vote in a show of hands, even if she or he has already voted by proxy. This will not be the case in the event of a poll being called. Resolutions numbered 1 to 3 are ordinary resolutions which require a simple majority in order to be carried. The first item on our agenda is to receive and consider the report of the Council and the accounts of the Institute for the year ended 31st of December 2015. Ladies and gentlemen, can I take the report and summary financial statements on page 43 of the annual integrated report and the accounts in the financial statements as read?
Aye.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments in relation to this item? Definitely.
Thank you, Miriam. It's Daphne Marler, and I've got a quick query on the acquisition side. You've got under the heading of acquire the fact that we're not doing so well in terms of getting new students on board, and in particular over the Far East, Middle East, etc. But one of the things that really did upset me was the sight of the number of 42% down for India in terms of acquiring new students. And I'd really like to know a little bit more about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Daphne. And certainly, in terms of acquisition, I did share with you the fact that 2015 was challenging in terms of implementation. Clearly, everything around the new assessment platform that we put into place, and clearly that had an impact in terms of confidence in the market, whether it be with tuition providers and students, and then clearly had an impact in relation to revenues ultimately as well, and our student acquisition numbers. In relation to the specific markets, Charles, do you want to add to that?
Just to say 2 or 3 things, and I'll actually then hand over to Andrew Harding, our Managing Director, but just to say that, yes, last year was a challenging year from student recruitment. Having said that, it's still about double the level that we had about 6 years ago, so it's still very high. And the assessment challenges that we had led to that. But I'm glad to say that this year our student recruitment is in line with budget, and India is actually progressing extremely well. But Andrew, you might want to add just 1 or 2 words to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. I think you probably said most of what I was going to say. In particular, last year we went through a significant restructuring of our operations in India, and India is actually now surging ahead. It is ahead of target and is actually our most successful market this year. Ironically, last year India bucked the trend on exam entry as well, and we saw it become one of our top 4 exam markets for the first time. So we're very optimistic about India, but we have done a lot of work on it in the last 12 months.
And if I could just add, actually, that we've made a lot of changes in our team there, and Irene Tang, and you might like to just stand up, is now looking after that market as well as much of Asia, including Sri Lanka and Malaysia, and she's been putting a lot of effort into that particular market as well as around all of her markets, which are doing well, in fact.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Then I propose that the report of the Council and the accounts for the year ended the 31st of December 2015 be received. Voting will be on the show of your red attendance cards. All those in favour, please raise your red attendance card. All those against? All those abstaining? There has been a simple majority in favour. Alex, do you agree?
I agree.
The resolution has been carried, and for the record, the number of proxy returns received are shown on the screen. Moving on then to agenda item 2, which relates to the appointment of the auditors. CIMA's constitution, specifically bylaw 41, states that this meeting is required to appoint auditors until the close of the next general meeting. Are there any questions or comments in relation to this item? I don't see any questions or comments. On that basis, I propose that we now move to a vote on item 2 as stated in the notice of the meeting. Once again, voting is on the show of your red attendance cards. All those in favour, please raise your red cards now. All those against? And any abstentions? There has been a simple majority in favour. Alex, do you agree?
I agree.
The resolution has been carried. For the record, the tally of proxy returns received is shown on the screen. Moving on to agenda item 3, which is in relation to members' fees and subscriptions for 2017. Are there any questions or comments regarding this item? In that case, I propose that we now move to a vote on item 3 as stated in the notice of the meeting. On a show of your red attendance cards, all those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? There has been a simple majority in favour. Alex, do you agree?
I agree.
The resolution has been carried. For the record, the tally of proxy returns is shown on the screen. So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the business resolutions, and I will now take any general questions relating to Institute business. And just to remind you, in answering any questions, I would like to say that we're here to account as counsel for CIMA and its business. For the purposes of the minutes, could you please wait for the microphone and do introduce yourself as you speak. And given the extraordinary announcement that we've been able to make this morning, I would like to open this agenda item by inviting Barry Melanson, who is the President and CEO of AICPA, to speak to the floor of the AGM. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you, Madam President. It's great to be with all of you today, and such a historic day that
all of the members, the vast majority of members of CIMA voting on your strategic initiative and that outstanding result that occurred that Miriam just reported to you. I would equally like to report the outcome from the American Institute of CPAs membership, which voting also closed, and we received the final vote tallies on yesterday. And that vote tally was at 86.5% yes. So both organizations membership, in a world, frankly, when not many things get that type of support, looked at this strategic endeavor, and overwhelmingly, over 85% in both organizations, materially the same in both organizations, exerted leadership in their respective sort of frameworks and the histories of their respective organizations to say, yes, together we can do some things going forward, creating additional value for our members to enhance and embrace management accounting and the broader segment of accounting also in the United States. And I think that is a very significant step forward. We live in a very complex world. We live in one in which accounting is a very crucial part of how our world and its technological advancements, expectations, cultures and ethics in business, all of those center in the profession that we are all part of. And so this vote today, I believe, gives us this platform to move forward and do several things. But on the top of that is to make sure that we live up to the commitments at AICPA and CIMA and the legacy organizations, the commitments of the CIMA Council that represents all of the members of CIMA, the support that CIMA's passion for nearly 100 years about management accounting has built and will continue to build going forward. And I think that that's what we're committed to do. As we and the leaders really have all been involved in this particular process, and not just the honorary officers on the table here today, obviously all of them have been involved, but we go back to several of the past presidents for many, many years that have been building this process, starting with Aubrey and George and Harold and Golzari and Malcolm, and then, of course, Keith and Miriam and Andrew and David and Steve to come as well. All of those individuals have been part of an incredible process of debate and discussion, and people similarly situated at the AICPA in those same roles, and we've built a great relationship. And Charles, your team, you and your team have been fantastic on this process, just like the AICPA team. This was hard work to get to that particular point. And now we move on to implementing on what we promised to our members to do in strategy. And most would probably say that's the really hard work, and that we will take on with a passion and a commitment to those promises that we have made. And we expect to deliver at a high quality. This team of people from CIMA and those that marry in the same positions, if you will, at the AICPA are all committed to bringing that forward. We have focused on 3 priorities in the short term. One is about opening up the CGMA market in the United States. One is about bringing additional competency and tools to the membership at large throughout the world, CIMA and AICPA membership. And one to actually build the operation mechanisms to effectively function and deliver on what we want to do, sort of operate in that integrated way. And so those 3 things will dominate our perspective. And I'll just share with you a quick thought. I thought a story. I had the opportunity to visit with a very, very large multinational company CEO about what we were doing just 2 weeks ago. And when he asked me about what our priorities were and I described those, he said that he thought that symmetry was incredibly important. One, we were taking the strength of CIMA and working on CGMA in the U.S. One is taking a strength that the AICPA has about learning competencies and tools for the benefit of creating value for members and opening that up to the rest of the CIMA world. And one was about working together, but not just working together, but working together to create more member value. And that is really one of those objectives from that standpoint. So it is a very, very, very significant day, not only for CIMA, and AICPA. But I would say for the entire world's accountancy profession, no one else has done what we have done. No one else would have even imagined what we have done. And we've done it with significant, I think, professionalism and with outstanding results. And there'll be little things that come into play that we probably won't talk that much about. So, for instance, in the United States, about 20% of the accounting graduates finish their undergraduate work in accounting and go back home because they're foreign students, and predominantly they're in Asia. Those individuals, beginning tomorrow, will have a much greater awareness of management accounting and CGMA, and will provide the CIMA teams that are existing in the various regions a great opportunity for students to bring into the pipeline in a much different way. And we will go down many, many, many different examples like that to show the strength of what we're creating for the accounting profession globally. So thank you for your leadership. It all begins with the members in this room, and the members who aren't able to attend today, both at the AICPA and CIMA. And it carries on with the volunteer leadership of the honorary officers and the committee members, as well as the incredible staff. And so we look forward to day by day, month by month, year by year, continued success in delivering on that strategic vision that's been laid out. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you very much, Barry, for that perspective, both from the AICPA side and obviously acknowledging the role of CIMA and the value of CIMA also. At that, could I open the floor to comments and questions? So we have one at the back.
Thank you. My name is Francesca Windsor, and I'm a member of CIMA. Madam President, I just want to congratulate you on 11% of the fellow members being female. Back in 1995, when I became a fellow member, only 3% were fellow members female. So we have gone quite a long way, and gentlemen, watch out. Soon we'll take over. Thank you.
I think, Francesca, I can only say I'm speechless after that. So clearly we have made good progress, a way to go. And I do think, I mean, CIMA, in terms of, you know, the almost the fuller value that we bring in terms of our leadership and being a role model, I think we are an exemplar around the gender pay gap. Still a way to go, but I think, you know, we're a really valuable organisation contributing in this space. So thank you for your comments.
Thank you. The best.
And Aubrey.
Madam President, Aubrey Joachim, 76th President of CIMA. I suppose if we had a feminine gender word for fellow, you might have more females becoming fellows. That may be the problem. Anyway, thank you, Madam President, for the excellent year that you've led. And more so, I'm indeed delighted about what we heard today from yourself and from Barry as well. In fact, I must say that I was involved at the embryonic stage of the birth of this child today. If you remember, way back during my presidency, that's when it started off, as Barry mentioned as well. And actually, he stole the words that I wanted to say. It is not just a great day for CIMA and AICPA, but indeed for the entire global accounting profession. And I'm sure you see it from the US side, some of you and most of you see it from this side of the world. But I come from a part far, far away, right down under. And certainly I can see that this is going to change the perception of management accounting significantly. A recent report by PwC looking at the future of work identified that in the accounting space, the accounting profession by 2030 would be nothing like what it is today. It's changing so much, and it's changing exponentially. And I'm sure that one of the things that we can do as this joint body is to lead that way and never look back. So I am indeed proud, and I've been involved with CIMA for 42 years. I'm older than I look, by the way. And I hope by the time the 50 years coming, I would have received one of those gongs that you mentioned. So anyway, thank you very much. I think it calls for a drink, and this looks like being one of the shortest AGMs on record. So congratulations, you must have done something right. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think wonderfully expressed in terms of the pride in management accountancy and also the opportunity for management accountancy. And thank you for the 8 years' notice to make sure that we do have a commemorative pen for you in due course. Comments or questions?
Good morning, everyone. My question is in a different angle. My name is Selvadurai Dharmalingam. Now, a couple of years' time, we are going to reach 100 years. Have we got any plan to celebrate that 100 years celebration? Because that is the only way we can boom our market. And 100 years celebration, where we are going to have it and how we are going to do it. Have you got any plan or anything or cost and everything? And you calculated and everything? Please let me know that today.
I think, thank you for your question. Fair to say we have been somewhat preoccupied over the course of this year. However, one of the things that I'm very proud of we do well is succession planning in terms of honorary officers. And the Vice President nominate will have the opportunity to be President in the year of the 100th anniversary. I think equally important to say, so we value our heritage as CIMA. It's hugely valuable to us. And then equally, AICPA also have a long and treasured heritage that positions us both to be fantastic organizations and also position us very strongly to drive the profession into the future. Thank you for your comment. Well, excuse me, this one.
John Weston, Chairman of CIMA Benevolent Fund. You have cards on your seats promoting the Benevolent Fund and mentioning that Keith ran the London Marathon for the Benevolent Fund. I'd like to thank Keith for doing that, and I also have some sponsorship forms for him. You will see in the foyer, in a very prominent position, that we have got a new video, and this mentions 2 case studies and also Keith. When the committee saw the draft, there was no females on it, and we've now revised this with females. 2 females, one's wearing a skirt, and the other one is wearing high heels. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And the Benevolent Fund, I think, does represent a lot of what's best about voluntary efforts, and in particular our council members led by John, who do a sterling job around fundraising and good work helping out our members in difficult circumstances. And then obviously we have an immediate past president who's left a blistering trail in terms of practical contributions to it. Any other questions or comments? And I might invite Charles if you want to make some closing comments.
I wasn't expecting you to ask me to do so, but I welcome the opportunity. You said it was probably the shortest AGM on record. I'll now go on for an hour or 2. But actually, I just want to say I think this is a remarkable day. I didn't expect to be emotional when I found the results on Thursday evening from Barry, and I actually got our results on Wednesday evening. I didn't expect to be emotional then. Both times I did. I think it is remarkable what we're doing. The opportunity for the accounting profession is just massive, and we know that because of the fact that a lot of people are talking with us who want to work with us going forward into the future. We also know that some of our competition is very upset with us, so that in that regard as well, we know that we are we are doing things which they would love to be doing themselves. So I think we are doing something which is really good for the accounting profession. But as far as this meeting is concerned, what we're doing, which is much, much more important, is that this is brilliant for management accounting. I have once or twice said there's never been a better time to be a management accountant. And I think wherever I go at the moment, every business I talk to, small or large, private or public sector, anywhere in the world, the challenges that they face through the speed of change, driven through technology, changing requirements of society and so forth, are all making decision-making more and more challenging, and making the right decisions is what management accounting is all about, being at the heart of business, to be able to interpret the data, great analysis, communicate it effectively, everything that we say in our management accounting principles. That's what this is all about. And what we will be doing is driving forward that management accounting agenda and the accounting profession more widely, more effectively and better over the coming years and decades. So it really is a great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles. So thank you then for your questions. That takes us on to agenda item 5, which is the election of the Institute Vice President, Deputy President and President for 2016-2017. I call on Andrew Miskin, Deputy President, and Vice President David Stanford to remove their badges of office. The 3 resolutions under item 5 are ordinary resolutions and require a simple majority. First, we have the election of the Vice President. I propose that this meeting hereby elects Steve Swinton-Zelski as Vice President of the Institute for the coming year. All those in favour, please raise your red attendance cards. Any against? Any abstaining? There has been a simple majority in favour. Alex, do you agree?
I agree.
For the record, the tally of proxy returns is shown on the screen. The resolution to elect Steve Swinton-Zelski as Vice President has been carried. Steve, would you please come forward? The badge. Steve, I invest you with your badge of office.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Please make your way to the top table. Well done. We now come to the election of the Deputy President. I propose that this meeting hereby elects David Stanford as Deputy President of the Institute for the coming year. All those in favour, please raise your red attendance card. Any against? And any abstentions? There has been a simple majority in favour. Alex, do you agree?
I agree.
For the record, the tally of proxy returns is shown on the screen. The resolution to elect David Stanford as Deputy President has been carried. David, would you please come forward? David, I now invest you with your badge of office. Congratulations. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move to the election of the 83rd President of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. I propose that this meeting elects Andrew Miskin to the office of President of the Institute for the coming year. All those in favour, please raise your red attendance card. And against? Any abstentions? There has been a simple majority in favour. Alex, do you agree?
I agree.
For the record, the tally of proxy returns is shown on the screen. The resolution to elect Andrew Miskin as President has been carried. Andrew, would you please come forward? Ladies and gentlemen, may I invite you to stand for the investiture of your new President. Andrew Miskin, you have been formally elected to the office of President, and it is my pleasant duty to pass on to you the insignia of that office. I do not, however, consider that my duty ends here, and in accordance with tradition, I call upon you to declare that during your term of office, you will devote yourself to the interests and the advancements of the Institute. On your part, therefore, I seek your assurance that you accept this trust, that you will fulfill it faithfully and assiduously, and that before handing on your responsibilities, you will seek a similar assurance from your successor.
I promise to do so.
I invest you with this presidential badge of office as a mark of your high station. And I hand you the Institute gavel as a symbol of the authority invested in you.
So my first very pleasant duty as President is to present Miriam Madden with a past President's badge.
Thank you. I think we take our seats, isn't it? Thank you. Thank you.
Please be seated.
Thank you.
I have been advised of one other item of additional business. Charles.
Sorry, I said earlier that when Miriam had asked me, I hadn't expected to speak. So the one thing I actually forgot to do, which is probably the most important thing of all, was actually to thank all the people who've been involved. And it's been an incredibly exciting journey. Working with Barry and his team has been absolutely fantastic, and Arlene Thomas is also here. Working with my staff team has actually been fantastic. We've both got the SMT and some of the regional directors here, I think all the regional directors here. And of course working with the volunteer officers, leaders of the AICPA, they're wonderful people. They've built great relationships with all of us, including our honorary officers. And working with Miriam and all of the other honorary officers and past presidents as well who've been involved has been fantastic, and I just think I would like to put that on record as well. It's been great. Thank you.
I've not been notified of any other additional business for the meeting, and therefore I have pleasure in drawing the meeting to a close. Thank you for attending this year's annual general meeting, and I look forward to seeing you next year, hopefully. I declare the meeting closed at noon exactly.